Senate will come to order. Our first item of business is a land acknowledgement. ASG acknowledges with respect to the land we are on today as the traditional ancestral homelands of the Kumeyaay Nation. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. Our next item of business is roll call. The clerk of the Senate will now take roll.
Jacob Aragon,
Here.
Ashika Arasu,
Here.
Anissa Beckett,
Here.
Jolie Beagle,
Here.
Chloe Cohen,
Here.
Darren Eder,
Here.
Dana Carden,
Here.
Joshua Feingold,
Here.
Cece Fletcher,
Here.
Angelica Colton,
Here.
Lily Giovanelli,
Here.
Kyla Hammond,
Here.
Chloe Holm,
Here.
Asaso Ioma, Anna Janama,
Here.
Marissa Lelanier, Briara Long,
Here.
Mia Mara Diegan Ilagan, Jonathan Martinez, Malia McKinley,
Here.
Tatum Mosley,
Here.
Sean Paula,
Here.
Morgan Pang,
Here.
Valeria Rivera, Isabella Sevilla, Melissa Weaver,
Thank you to the clerk. Our next item of business is the approval of the agenda for March 23rd, 2023. Senator Jolie.
I move to approve the agenda from March 23rd, 2023.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the agenda for March 3rd, 2023. Is there any further discussion? If not, we will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. The agenda for March 23rd, 2023 is approved. Our next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from March 16th, 2023. Is there any discussion? The student org committee chair.
I move to approve the minutes from March 16th, 2023.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. There's a motion on the floor have been seconded to approve the minutes from March 16th, 2023. Is there any further discussion? If not, we will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. The minutes from March 16th, 2023 are approved. Our next item of business is the raising of questions from members of the public. At this time, any member of the public may raise an immediate question to the Assembly to be further discussed at the final hearing of business of the public. If no questions are being raised by the members of the public at this time, we will now move to our next agenda item. Next on the agenda is a report from the Speaker of the Senate. Happy Senate to you all. Thank you, just always thank you for being here. ASG applications for elected positions are due tonight. So please, if that has not been emphasized to you all and you want to continue to do ASG and be a returner for next year, The elected positions are due tonight, and then the appointed are April 16th. Yeah, April 16th. So if you're looking for an appointed position, such as an associate justice or member of exec, they're April 16th, but I know that some of you have been talking about wanting to join and wanting to come back, but just know that today is the deadline to turn those in for elected positions for next year. So please keep that in mind, and I would really love to see all of you come back, because all of you do such great work. On Monday, I attended the mission statement meeting with hosted by President Harris and VP Levette Collier, and with the finance chair and the chief of staff. We discussed the upcoming changes to the mission statement. It was a productive conversation, and one that we'll be working with them intimately, and they'll be presenting at the Board of Trustees by the end of May. So that's in the works. On Tuesday, I attended the Walnut Building meeting and discussed ways that students can have an input to the art and messaging in the building, especially including those that represent marginalized communities, especially tribal art. And so details to come. So I want to shout out Senator Chloe. I was speaking with the committee, and they were mentioning how there's a push for more marginalized art, student art, and especially tribal art to be put in the building. So what I kind of really wanted to push to them was that we ask students input for what kind of art and messaging they put. So they were presenting some phrases that they wanted to put in the building, and so I just said, they were kind of like saying maybe some little cringy things, but I was saying that I think we should push that to the students, and VP Johnson agreed with that, so that'll be pushed to the students soon. On Wednesday, I met with the Chief Justice to discuss the final edits to the Senate bylaws. And this week, I have been working a lot more with exec to address some incoming potential issues that we will be working to resolve soon. I also have been working with the Chief of Staff to plan that bonding. It's going to be really fun, y'all, so please come. And then I have been working with the Finance Chair and the Controller to plan out future budgetary items coming to Senate in the coming weeks. Any questions? You all know what to email me. Next is a report from the Senate lead team.
Everyone, hope y'all are having a great Thursday so far. So basically, we were talking, Senate lead team and with the committee chairs and coordinators, last week, and we want each committee to have an out-of-office hour every week. So you don't have to go by yourself. You send some people in your committee, every committee, so student life, student board, academics, an idea. We want y'all to go out. Y'all don't all have to go together, but y'all can. And go meet with constituents, go talk to them, mingle, have conversations. We don't want it to be like, you don't have to have like a set list of like questions to ask, and like, you don't have to be, unless you have like a plan of doing something with like questions that are meeting somewhere. But we want y'all to do this. And also, we are having Senate Tuesday, April 4th, in the executive boardroom in Kip J. For those of y'all that might not know where that is, you can reach out to any of us. It's on the second floor. Don't remember what room number it is currently, but it's in the back, all the way, on the out back wall, and the big doors. There's 2 sets of doors. And then also, join the group meet. We talked also last week, Senator Josh, great idea. Group meet. So the link is on the slides, and if you know anyone, so you'll all have access to the slides now, and on Dres's email at the beginning of this on Tuesday night. And so click on the email, the slides are in there, join the group meeting. If you know anyone that's not currently here today, let them know to join the group meeting that's on the slides, or you can just send them the link. And then also, Lily's going to present today, and I'm excited, so I hope all of y'all are also excited, because go her.
Hello everyone, again for your favorite part. So parliamentary reminder, if you want to further study and or investigate, or investigation be conducted regarding any agenda item, you may motion to refer that item to any committee, so long as it's an appropriate committee to do so. Try to be specific as possible when motioning this, as we want to make sure it's clear and concise when motioning to have further information collected. Thank you.
The office hour, is that another hour, or is that like we're down to one office now and then two office?
It's 6 hours total still, so 5 in the office, 1 out of the office at minimum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is reports from the committee chairs and coordinators.
Okay, hi. Happy Thursday, everyone. So I have a couple of updates. So as you all know, research grants for spring are live. If you can pull that flyer. We will be reaching out to faculty soon because we have to have a faculty member each department that has the most applicants in. So I'll be doing that shortly once all the applications are in. And I'm working on a survey currently for purposes about weekend library hours with Senator Malia, and I have a couple other things that will kind of go into an initiative that 2 members of the academics committee, Julie and Chica, will be working on. I can go into that. So I have a list of the resolutions we're currently working on within the academics committee. So if anyone is interested in helping to get water in the valley, you can work with Bella. Alternative study space or an additional study space besides Copley that is a little bit more centralized on campus, that is close to 24 hours or just has more availability, I would say, than Copley, Sheikah, and Jolie will be working on that. And then I'm personally working on finding a way to get more non-Senate senator engagement from our constituents at Senate via, I would say, office hours, volunteer hours or compass points, so that's more to come. And then I'm still working with Dana about the transferable credits for online courses resolution. My email is up there. And sometimes it didn't make it up there. Wanted to point out, let's give a big congratulations to Japan for their win. I don't know who saw it, but yes, very, very good win. We love what's coming. That's all I have to say.
Hi everybody. So first I wanted to bring your attention to an event that's going on until tomorrow. It's called My Girlfriend's Closet. It's being ran by UFMC. They're asking you to, if you have any, please donate any gently used items for young women impacted by homelessness and the foster care system. So this could be shirts, dresses, sweaters, jackets, toys, stuffed animals, etc., anything like that. There are 3 drop-off sites: the UFMC, UC's in front of the ticket office, and the main entrance to the Copley Library. Again, it's going on until tomorrow. If you have the time, I highly encourage that you make a donation. And since we've been talking about it since last semester, the Cookie for a Comet event is finally happening. It'll be April 14th from 1:30 to 2:30 in front of the UCs. Please spread the word to your constituents. For some general updates, we had a successful meeting with Brandon McCreary, led by Senator Jacob, about expanding questions about sexual orientation on the housing application for the incoming class of 2027. There is a student survey draft in progress being led by Senator Chloe about the renaming of Saints Hall and how we can be more inclusive of Native students. And there's a meeting with Catherine from Copley Library today, also led by Senator Chloe, about a potential tabling event for mental health around Finals Week. And if you have any questions, my email and office hours are up there, and I will absolutely be at the barricade for driver era next week. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Ramadan Mubarak. Today we will be presenting 3 student organizations for approval. We will also be meeting with one on Friday during our committee meeting, which is Model United Nations. We have been finalizing our posters and information focused on making the student organization registration and behind-the-scenes process more accessible and less daunting. Thank you to Mia for submitting a marketing request, which is the first one we submitted for this, about helping student organizations make sure their work for the year is recognized and celebrated. Thank you, and if you need to reach out to me, let me know. Okay. I'm also doing ERISAs today. So They're meeting with the finance chair, Ashley, on Monday to discuss proposed changes to HGBC funding guidelines to encourage sustainable practices. Fitness center hours update, all contacts and funds focused on new wellness center building. Does not seem like a possibility this semester. Thank you to Senator Josh for hard work. Ongoing student life committee projects, reach out to collaborate with them. $90/meal swipe transfer system is led by Senator Jonathan. Water fountains in Valley B in April mental health awareness event in UC Commons, which is led by Senator Angelica. Campus tram benches and library hours survey, which is led by Senator Malia. And the Wing Initiative, which is led by Senator Josh.
Hi everyone, not a lot for me today, just working on a Senate Appreciation Night at a baseball game later this semester, probably in April. And that's also a potential tabling opportunity as well. And then just games this week, men's rugby, men's soccer, and women's tennis will all be playing on Saturday, and then women's tennis is playing again on Sunday.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone had a happy and healthy St. Patrick's Day weekend. Please download Timely Care. They are doing a giveaway, they being the Center for Health and Wellness. They're doing a giveaway throughout the month of March. There's 4 winners, or come to my tabling event next Wednesday from 1 to 2. We're going to be giving away maybe bud cakes, maybe. And then you'll also be entered to win the Amazon gift card giveaway. And then I'm going to be meeting with Senator Chloe and Catherine after Senate today to discuss the final week tabling to promote the Wellness Center.
Hello everyone, I'm JD Morey. I'm Sean's proxy for the day. First of all, he and I would like to welcome the Changemaker Hub, who will be presenting on the Oat Milk Initiative. We encourage you to support their pilot. Secondly, he will be meeting with Ashley on Monday about updating ASGBC funding guidelines. And he will be meeting with Andre Modi from Auxiliary on Wednesday about developing a pilot program for Generation Conscious, which is a sustainable laundry detergent option. And finally, he would like me to let you know that he will still be out of the office tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the committee chairs and coordinators. I know I'm talking about Mike, but hopefully we'll be moving this on. So next is the reports from the ASG Executive Board.
Hello everyone, happy Thursday. I hope your midterm season is going well, and I know that it's a stressful time of the year, so if you're needing any additional support on anything, please feel free to let me know. So important update from me is that the ASG Food Pantry Survey is officially live, and that flyer right next to it is the correct marketing flyer. To scan that QR code. I am planning on keeping the survey open for 3 weeks, so please share with your constituents that use the food pantry. And big shout out to Sean and Anna, who have been helping on this initiative and are going to continue doing work on this. So this week we had the first meeting of the ASG Endowment Scholarship Committee, and we are seeking 4 non-ASG members to sit on the committee, and we will give you more updates as this process goes on. And we made some final timeline decisions and some tentative questions, and we're hoping to have the finalized questions sent out by tomorrow. On Tuesday, we welcomed ADPSL Dr. Byron Howlett to our exec meeting. We shared some updates, got to introduce each other a little bit in our roles. A small update from Student Life is that they are hoping to remove the term graduation from senior ceremonies to reduce confusion between commencement and graduation. So that should help kind of clarify that. So I hosted my second pop-up lunch on Tuesday. We had a full group of people and got to meet a lot of new people around campus. So that was really fun, and I'm looking forward to hosting my 3rd one. And lastly, if you have any questions for me, my email is up there. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So last week, I had another parking committee meeting with Mike Dills and other members of the parking committee. So basically, here's the rundown for what of the proposals are for some of the reduced ticket prices, which we're very excited about. Again, these are proposals and they're not official, but the $50 ticket for exceeding a time limit on meter parking can be reduced to $25 as the proposed amount. Parking outside your assigned area before 4 p.m., as with the new park up option, goes to from 100 to 50. Parking in a USD official vehicle space, 100 to 75, and then having to relocate a vehicle, 175. And then as far as citations, to be removed entirely incorrect plates, multiple plates, not parked in the marked space. That reason was because they found there's kind of a lot of overlap with some of these. They found it to be redundant and unnecessary. So that's the big update regarding parking. As always, if you guys have questions, concerns, comments, please email me. And then continue to spread the word about research grants, and we're going to take the grant applications through April 14th.
Hi everyone. If you're not reminded enough, the applications for elected positions, they close today at midnight. And again, applications for appointed positions are due April 16th. And the judicial branch, we're still working on ASGBC bylaws, TBB bylaws, and our own judicial branch bylaws. And today I'm also attending the commencement committee, and I'm excited to have a good discussion around the Senate bylaws with you all today. Thank you.
Alright, hi everyone, I'm doing Cody's update. So he's sorry he's not here today, and he's off in Salt Lake City presenting a research paper. In case you all haven't heard, OLED Music Fest is going to be the driver era, which is with Ross Lynch and Rocky Lynch. It'll be next Friday on the 31st. He emailed you all yesterday looking for volunteers, so please respond to the email if you can help. Then also Dr. May Jemison will be coming next Wednesday, March 29th, and they may need volunteers, so look out for that. You get an email. And then Marco Jimenez will be the next 23-24 chair, and he's so proud of him and excited for him. I personally second that. We're really excited for him. And Kobe will be assisting with the vice chair hiring and will transition out of the hiring process when the 23-24 TBB exec team is appointed. I thought I wasn't going to be here, but I'm obviously here. So you guys take part in the first part, the weather thing. Dance is being true. So a lot of ASGBC stuff. I'll just read the more important things. There's been development since this. Next week, if all goes according to plan, I'm going to be putting in a request for funds from the ASG reserves. I will send out more information before next Thursday about what that involves and more specifics. And then once that sends out, or even before, if you all have questions you want to ask me, please feel free to do so. Once again, still having the extra ASGBC meetings. Thank you to Anna for being a Senate representative, and then Devin and Joey, of course, have being representatives on ASGBC. We've updated the bylaws, we've updated the funding guidelines. You guys can read there exactly what that involves. We have another over 10,000 requests in the pipeline. This will be requested either next week or the week after break. And we're going to try to give you information about that request before sending it to you all can review it. And then in addition, I met with EPP Board and Marie Davis on Wednesday. There was a couple things there that we can bring up later, but the number one thing I would say is that it looks like the wellness fee, it's going to be leveled on students. It's going to be $150 a semester once the building opens. Thank you.
Alright, hello everyone, happy Thursday. I'm not the first, I will not be the last, but applications for elected positions are due tonight. That includes president, vice president, and all senator positions. So if you want to continue, because we all want you to continue for next year, please fill out those applications by midnight tonight, and tell your friends too. And then appointed positions are going to be due for both ASG and TBB on April 16th. Research grant applications, April 14th, and food pantry survey, all of those for our on-campus promotions for the week. Also met with the endowment committee to prepare for the endowment scholarship process, and then I will be working with our parliamentarian John to film a Robert's Rules cheat sheet video. And just to put it on in your minds and on your calendars, if you do that with your outfits, on April 4th, I would like to take an updated group pic with all of our quarter zips. So I see that many of you got the memo today to wear them, but please also wear them on April 4th, which is the Tuesday. And our gift of the week is this nice sunny beach gift, because I am manifesting a very warm sunny beach day in the very near future.
Thank you. Hello everyone. So bonding is this Friday. Please be there if you can, and if you haven't, if you're still maybe on the GCal or haven't responded to it at all, please make sure to respond to that by after Senate, if possible. And then show up on time, please, because it is a little time constrained. And then I went to the mission statement conversation with Speaker Andres and Finance Chair Ashley. It was a nice conversation. I think the changes they're making will be better. And then I joined Student Life Committee meeting. They're meeting on Tuesday. It was really cool to see you all work together and everything you all had to say. I would like to join soon as well. And then I attended one of Melissa's pop-up lunches and was able to talk with more constituents as well. And then for the quote of the day, life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And then, and then this is for bonding. This is kind of like the mood board attire. Please don't go out of your way to buy stuff for this. Just use what you have in your closet. I think your business casual stuff for Senate will help. But yeah, so this is the mood board. Try your best to show up in something like that or similar. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I hope you all are there and are excited to see what we have planned. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you to the ASG Executive Board. We will now move on to new business. And our first item of new business is a presentation on changemaker initiatives led by Dr. Rivas and the student team.
Hello everybody. How are we doing? Digesting? Yeah? I always have a thing with energy in the universe where I always present after people eat, so it's always fun. Stay with us. My name is Juan Carlos JC. You met me before. I am the Director of Social Change at the Changemaker Hub. And?
I'm Jessica Laporte, and I am a student working with College Corps and the Changemaker Hub. And I've also been working on the Oat Milk Initiative for over a year now with JC, so it's been super fun.
Right on. So we're here with good news to share an update. I think last time I was here, I just in passing mentioned that we have a group of students working on things. We have lots of projects going on at all times. And so happy and excited to share with you that it took a year, but we convinced the powers, in charge to actually let us try this out for a month. So Earth Month is not really a thing, but it will be a thing for us this year. That's what it took for us to convince folks. And we're going to try out this pilot where we make oatmeal the default during the entire month. It's a bit of an odd month because we have Easter break, as you know, in the middle, but that's what it is. So it is happening only at Aromas Cafe, so downstairs. We already started collecting data actually on how many lattes or drinks are being offered with milk, so that we have a comparison of data at the end of the pilot, so that dining services can eventually make a decision about what it would take for us to keep this pilot permanently. You'll learn more about what that means in a second because Jessica is going to walk us through that. So why are we doing it? Mostly because, two main reasons, in case your constituents ask you. It is the most inclusive milk that exists because it is free of the 12 most common allergens that exist, and it's also the most sustainable of the milks. There's plenty that we can talk about details and little minutiae, but the more we look at it, it's hard to look at case against oat milk. So also Jess is going to share some of that. What does this mean that we're calling it oat milk by default pilot, right? Or Aromas is going oat by default. It's a tagline. You'll see that at some point in the posters. What it means is that any drink that is made with milk, this time for all of April, will be made with oat milk. People will have to opt out of oat milk into whatever milk you want. And the big thing is that it comes at no extra charge. If you're like an almond or soy fan, you still have to pay. It's life. So, and we're partnering up actually. So this is a partnership between Aromas. I love, if you know the manager down there, Yarandi, give her props. She's amazing to work with. If you know Charles, also give him props because he said yes to this. And we're partnering up with an external group called the Better Food Foundation. They do really good work helping companies normally to go default on vegetarian by default. In this case, this is the first project that is done with oat milk, and we're the first campus in the nation to try this out. And if we actually go default in the future, we will be the first one in the nation too, which is pretty good, pretty cool. All right, let's learn more about the details. I'll slide it for you.
So like why USD is trying this out is because making oat milk our default option, kind of what JC said, is going to be the most sustainable option and also the more inclusive option, because it's going to be the most helpful to be affordable in our community and also more inclusive because allergens and other like soy allergies, lactose intolerant people, like this is going to be more like financially fair to their bank accounts. And then so it's going to be at Aroma's Cafe from April 3rd to the 28th. Again, oat milk will be served as a default at no extra charge. You can still select dairy milk, so that's still an option. You just have to tell the barista that you want dairy milk. And then other alternative milks, the soy and almond, will be continue to be charged at 75 cents extra. And then oat milk has one of the lowest carbon and water footprints of any alternative milk and significantly way less emissions than dairy milk. It's like 3 times less. So if we want to be a more sustainable like campus and more sustainable, especially since we're signed on to Laudato Si, this is a really great way for USC to do that. And this little graph here, I don't know if you've seen it before, but this circulates my everyday now. But oat milk is the second from the bottom, and it's kind of the more well-balanced milks, I would say, because it has lower emissions. Its land use is also small, and its water use is also lower. And like soy milk is also very similar, but the problem is soy milk, there are people with allergies, so that isn't something that can be defaulted as easily. So
why are we telling you here, or why are we even here today? We're asking for some support, and why does this matter to you? Because you'll hear probably your constituents talking about this, 1. 2, because we need your support. I'll walk you through that in a sec. I want to give you just more context. The idea of the oat milk as default actually was one of the winning ideas in 2021, the Changemaker Challenge, which we've been focusing on food and food justice for 2 years, right? That was one of the winning ideas. The students that proposed the idea have the opportunity to continue working on that for however long it takes. The 2 students that proposed it actually were not interested in pursuing the idea because it was like a class project. But it was a winning idea, and we thought, well, let's try it out. It had some legs, right? So then we recruited another team with Jazz, Sophia, Arena, Jules, Humphrey, a couple of folks that you may know. They've been working on this for about a year, and now we're finally here. So this is not what the Hub, what the Hub does is actually support student projects, and this is one of the, to me, one of the most tangible ones that you can actually see and participate in. So ways that you can support: show up, have a latte. You probably already do the long line downstairs sometimes in between classes. So when you're there, you'll see some signage, and it will be very easy to, but you can't just opt out of whatever, to whatever milk you want. But show up, give some feedback. We are gonna be gathering feedback after, when you order your drinks. All of the coffee sleeves will have a little label, and we have posters. We're doing a bunch of raffles and things for people to give us feedback on milk consumption in general and what they think about the pilot. The whole point of this month is to make the case for dining services that this is worth doing. My guess is that people, if I'm not like an oat milk drinker, I'm actually end up coming to Aromas all the time versus going anywhere else, because anywhere else is still going to be a 75 cents charge. So worth the extra steps, right? Tell your constituents about it. We have a petition going that will launch pretty soon. We have one of our students is working with the Vista to put an editorial, like an open letter, an editorial, asking for support. She already gathered a lot of support from different faculty. When time comes, we'll recruit you all into it. And the petition could have some weight in the future as well. I have been talking to Sean as well here, Senator Sean, on creating maybe a Senate resolution where you ask or invite people to, invite the community to actually make this permanent, which will be a pretty cool legacy to have as well. And Jessica's going to walk us through what volunteering looks like, because it's more complicated.
Yep, and so we're going to actually be asking people to volunteer. So this QR code is linked to a spreadsheet. It's a pretty simple Google sheet. And we're going to be doing it for the two first weeks of the pilot. So that's gonna be, spring break is also in the middle of that, so it'll be like 3 days on the first week and then I think 4 days on the second week. And we're gonna try to do it from peak times, so like I know 10 a.m. is a really busy time for Roma, is like through noon and then like dwindle out at 2. And they're all like divided into 30-minute time slots so that like if people just wanna stop by and like help manage the line, tell people and encourage people to give feedback. That's what we're kind of doing as volunteers. We really want to like make it so that if someone has questions or is confused, like we can take that time to like educate as well as like make sure that people know that the milk is the fault. And there'll be a bunch of like signage and other things like that that they should know, but also just being there to encourage people to take the survey, manage the line, and overall just kind of collecting data for how people are feeling about the pilot, and also just like helping out as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, I would love if this volunteer sheet could be like sent out to multiple organizations. That's eventually my goal, because I know that many organizations are always looking for volunteer hours, and this is a really great way to do it and something impactful on the campus level, which I don't think we get to see that often. So I think it's a really great opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take questions. Questions that you may have.
The PR chair.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. So question, would the prices of the current coffees go up at all because of the oat milk being added? I know that's usually a little bit more expensive. Would that go up?
So we've been chatting with Charles about that. That has been the biggest factor in his perspective to go, especially campus-wide, or let alone in one cafe. But he doesn't. We don't have enough data to know that that is true. Because so far, when you ask for an alternative milk, there was only one button. I don't know if any of you are barista downstairs. There is only one button you will press alternative milk. So we didn't even know how many people were ordering oat versus almond versus soy. As of this month, we will have that information for the next 2 months, right? So that's going to give us some perspective to actually figure out if this is more expensive. Oat milk can be more expensive. However, we've been in conversations with Califia oat milk, more than you need to know. But this is one of the brands that they use when they don't use silk milk, which is the one that they use downstairs. And Califia is willing to give us a pretty good discount on that to go default. So ultimately, the price should not be a concern, and yet here we are. So like, I don't think it's, if we're trying to make the people that have allergies or just simply cannot drink regular milk, if we're making them pay for something that they need, we also should be aware that the entire community could suffer the same thing. So that's very much present in it too. Thank you.
Point of order, the allotted time has expired. So there's a couple of you with questions, but yeah, that was kind of my fault. I didn't predict as much time as usual. So if you all know the steps, but yeah. Senator Jolie?
I move to extend the allotted time by 5 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor and been seconded to extend the allotted time by 5 minutes. We will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. 5 more minutes. Next on stack was Senator Jolie.
Just out of curiosity, so is this gonna be like, I'm just assuming if like someone who's really like doesn't check their email, doesn't look at flyers, and doesn't know this is a thing, is it gonna be clarified at the register just for like allergy like protection and everything? Is that gonna be clarified that, oh, it's gonna be all like the go-to?
Yeah, so the baristas, I don't know how many of you are, I don't even know the platform that I'm using, but there's a new platform that students that are working within dining services, you have like mandatory training. So the Better Food Foundation that has been working with us created a video that is training the baristas for what to say. So the actual statement, when you come to get let's say a latte, the barista will say, the month of April we're serving oat milk as a default, is that okay? So they'll be able, anybody who orders something will hear that. One, we are asking for volunteers so that people in the line can actually hear, like when you get there and the signage, everything says like, when you get there you need to opt out of this milk if that's not what you want. And then one of the challenges that we had is dining services didn't want us to announce anything until this coming Wednesday because he was afraid that people would want to go and get lattes already there at a lower cost. To me, that's data. Already, people are actually ready to get some of that, but that's neither here nor there. Does that answer your question, Simone? Yeah.
And next on stack is Senator Jacob.
I was actually going to ask the same question, so I yield my time. Thank you.
Next on stack is the Speaker Pro Tem Floor.
Just as an avid oat milk user and an avid coffee drinker, thank you so much because, just so you guys know, this would save me about $60 a semester. Wow, yes. That's all. Thank you.
Next on stack is Senator Jacob. Or sorry, not Senator Jacob, sorry, Senator Jonathan.
Hi, just want to say first of all, thank you for presenting. I'm not sure if you actually said this, but just for the pilot, it would just be an allowance, right? And if this were to actually go on to become a permanent thing, would it just be for aromas where we use this type of milk, or would it be for like all the places on campus that use milk?
My guess, we don't know yet, but my guess, knowing how things move here sometimes, we might make the case for aromas to stay that way for like a semester. So if this is a month-long pilot, the most accessible way that we could get is if Andrea and team say, okay, this happened as an aroma for 6 more months to gather more data. And then this is our goal is to make it campus-wide. But we have to work with like tiny little steps, as you know.
Maybe.
Next on stack is the PR chair.
Okay, so kind of a question along the lines of that, what are your, I guess, objectives for success here? Like, what are you all looking for in terms of what would make this a permanent solution?
I think what would make this a permanent solution is really like widespread student and faculty support. I think a lot of this is going to be a student push, and if students are like hearing about this and like genuinely excited about it, I feel like that's where our success is going to lie. Is also we have a survey at the end of the, like after you get your coffee. I think like a really like big push to get that completed, like just will show like student engagement. So I think we're going to be measuring success more on student engagement and also student education, like through this initiative on just sustainability as a whole.
Next on stack is the finance chair.
Hi, thank you for presenting. I guess my question was, what's the cost to the school, like, and maybe like per drink to use oat milk versus almond milk? Like, is it a price reason that would be a pushback, or is it more just something students would want that?
It's mostly a price reason, however, they don't even really have the proper data to actually stand on that. So it's an assumption, because the biggest statement they always make is that all the drinks here are comparable to what you pay at Starbucks. So they wouldn't want to go, and I don't know how you get to Starbucks in forever, but that's the baseline that they work with, and now we have to, we need to prove to them that this is feasible. There's other companies that have done this, but also like large coffee companies like Blue Bottle and others have already done it, so it is feasible if the organization wants to do it.
Point of order, the allotted time has expired.
Yeah, if any of you have any more questions you want to ask, you can extend the time, but also we can move on. Take a while. Okay. No further extending of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Point of personal privilege.
Take a while. Our next item on the agenda is presentation and vote on new student organizations presented by the Student Organizations Committee Chair, Dana Haru.
Hello everyone. I feel like we all understand what's going on now. So all new and old clubs that have been on campus but not in recent years must get approved by Senate. Today we have one new student organization and 2 old new student organizations that we are presenting. So for the first one is the new student organization, which is the Social Justice Club. Their mission is to provide a space and outlet for people to productively talk about global issues. Their goals are to spread their message and garner a community that supports one another and allows voices to be heard. They want to focus on different topics, more importantly ones that have stigmas behind them that are brushed under the rug. Then our first old new student organization is the U.S. Film Society. Their mission is to cultivate an artistic community for those in the cinematic arts, regardless of their majors or minors. Their goals are to focus on the cinematic arts, collaborate with other organizations, and foster cinematic arts opportunities. The last organization is an old new student organization, which is a student veteran organization. Their mission is to have an inclusive environment for veterans, aid with their transition and integration, and have an academic and beneficial support system for all veterans, dependents, and active duty members. Their goals are to welcome all members of the military or anyone that has any military connection and gain publicity, as well as have prominent members of USD that have military connections like Knaus to come speak and grow the organization. Are there any questions or concerns?
The athletics coordinator.
I move to approve all new and old new clubs.
There's a motion on the floor, have been seconded to approve all new and old new student organizations presented by the student board committee chair. Is there any further discussion? Not saying that we need to discuss, but you can discuss now. All right, we will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions, motion passes. Thank you to the student board committee chair.
Thank you.
Take a vote. Okay, our next item on the agenda is old business. At this time, we will do the discussion and vote on the Senate bylaw amendments presented by the Chief Justice, Alana Del Torre.
Okay, hi everyone. So hopefully you've all had the chance to go over the bylaw edits. Just want to open it up really quickly first. Does anyone have any initial thoughts or questions about these bylaws? If not, that's okay. I just want to bring up some of the suggestions that we got within the past 2 weeks. Let me find it really quick. first one who found it. In the case of a vacancy of the office of the Speaker of the Senate, the Speaker pro tempore, this was a suggestion, will resume the office and title of the Speaker of the Senate for the remainder of the Speaker's term. Originally, we had it in the case of the vacancy of the office of the Speaker of the Senate, the Speaker pro tempore will resume the role of acting Speaker of the Senate for the remainder of the Speaker's term until a replacement can be elected by the Senate. So basically, if we were to accept this suggestion, then there wouldn't be an election process for like the new replacement speaker that comes in. Thoughts?
Yeah, so the Chief Justice and I were discussing this yesterday, and so wanted to bring that to your consideration about thoughts about what you all thought about just the difference between if, for example, I were to resign, Lily were to assume the full office, or will be just acting speaker. And consideration about that is whether to follow the precedent set by the president-vice president succession, so the vice president becomes the president when the president resigns or is dismissed or whatever that is, or does they become the acting speaker until the Senate elects another one. The athletics coordinator.
Well, I actually just got a question. So then if the Speaker pro tempore becomes the acting speaker, okay, so then like what's the next step? Because then like that position has to be kind of filled by Speaker pro tempore, and then you know, the clerk would go up there and then clerk. Also, I guess my thing, I think that we should elect it personally, but that's just me.
So yeah, to answer your question initially, it would be the Speaker pro tempore assumes the title and office of the Speaker, and then since it is set in the Constitution bylaws that the Speaker then chooses the Senate lead team, then the Speaker, that person who was Speaker pro tempore and now the new Speaker, would be able to select another like Speaker pro tempore. We had the reason why we're debating this is because last year we had a situation where the Speaker resigned and the Speaker pro tempore became the Speaker, and so there was some confusion about whether there would be an electing of a new Speaker or it was just kind of like a succession thing, since the Speaker pro tempore has been part of the Senate lead team and all that. The student committee chair was next on that.
I agree with Senator Anissa's sentiment that we should elect the new speaker because we did not elect the Speaker pro tempore. So if that makes sense, that's why I think we should elect them.
Any other thoughts? Senator Tatum?
So is this election done by the lead team or by Senate?
So the way that the Speaker is elected is all new senators after the, so the way that's done, all new senators, like how we were saying that, you know, if you run for Senate for next year, there will be a time later in the spring when we do a little transition. Though that new class of senators, so all of you are like one class, and so that new class of senators meets together and they come together to elect the Speaker by 2/3 majority vote of that and then whoever, and the Speaker comes from being a senator, so if like one of you wanted to be Speaker and you were all part of the new class, you can put yourselves forward to become Speaker, and there's a whole process about electing that, but just essentially the way that it's done is that everyone's elected senator, and then the senators elect the Speaker, so it's kind of like a double election if you want to hold the Speaker position.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so like,
Senator Tatum.
thank you. Just to clarify, so then the Speaker would come from Senate, or would it be an outside party that could possibly be elected to be the Speaker?
So in the case of the filling in role, so like I said before, like the election of the speaker always comes from being an elected senator. So you have to be an elected senator to become the speaker. But in the case of the Speaker Pro Tempore is a senator as well. So there's no one outside of Senate can hold one of these positions anyway. So me, Lily's, and Gunnar's positions are all, we were elected as senators before, and then you hold this leadership position like the second position. Senator Jonathan.
Just a quick question. How long after the speaker resigns is the election held? Is it like as soon as possible, or is it like an immediate, like speaker resigns today, like within a week's time we're gonna hold an election? Like how long is it after the speaker resigns that we have the election?
I think.
I don't think it's outlined exactly like a set deadline of when it's found. I think just based off the bylaws, it'd be as soon as possible.
And usually the practice, like the Chief Justice said, it's not outlined, but the practice is usually by the next Senate. Senator Chloe.
Hi, I just wanted to voice my thoughts. I think I'm obviously all for direct democracy. I just am worried about how the election process would be in terms of times and resources. Are people going to be full out campaigning, or I'm just meaning, is it going to take away from your other responsibilities as a senator if you're also campaigning for a different office? And I'm assuming if someone's resigning, something pertinent and important has come up. So my concern is this election process going to be sped up? I feel for me personally, for convenience reasons, it might just be better to have it be appointed or filled by the Speaker Pro Tempore.
Andres, can I add to that?
Yeah.
Typically, there's not really a campaign process for speaker. It's more just there's a meeting and then it's an interview process. So in this case, if Andres was stepped down from the speaker, it would be like this, Senate, and then it would be open to you all and anyone could raise their hand and interview basically, and it's you're answering questions in front of all of Senate, and then the Senate would elect you. So it's not necessarily a campaign process, so it would be done within that 1 meeting.
Next on stack is Senator Jacob.
Hi. Excuse me. I just have a clarification question. So let's just say in the event the speaker decides to resign in the middle of a class or whatever, so now, and then the Speaker Pro Tempore, according to these bylaws, take over. Do they just take over for the remaining of this class and the next one, or just this class?
It's just for this year. So if I were to resign and Lily were to become the speaker, she would continue to serve out the rest of my term, which is until the swearing of the new team. And so it doesn't affect the next year. It just serves. But the thing is that the distinction between acting speaker or actual speaker. So being, full on the full responsibility of being speaker.
Yeah, Senator Jacob. I was kind of going to relay my thoughts on that. I guess in that event, I do agree with the idea that we should be able to elect our speaker, but since the vacancy does occur, it could be at any point, and the Speaker Pro Tempore works directly with the speaker at most times, so it almost makes the most sense in terms of functionality for them to take over for the remainder of the semester or that class. So that's just my 2 cents.
The president.
Hello. So I just wanted to say a little bit about about what Andres mentioned about setting precedents for how the executive board does it. So according to the bylaws, if the president were to resign, then the vice president would assume the duties of the president for the rest of the term. But what's inconsistent between the role of the speaker and speaker pro temp and then president and vice president is that both the president and vice president are elected positions, whereas the speaker pro temp is not an elected position. So my question would be, so if the Senate were to elect a new speaker, is anyone on the Senate lead team, including the clerk and speaker pro temp, are they also fair game to for them to elect them, or are they do they retain and maintain in their roles? Yeah, let me know if you need me to clarify that question.
I think the way that it works is that it's more concerning. I think the appointments made by the previous speaker kind of maintain. So if your question is, if I were to drop and a new speaker were to come in, would Lily and Gunnar drop also because the appointment? Is that what you were asking? The president.
My question was say you step down and you're re-electing a new speaker, would the rest of the Senate lead team be eligible to be considered for that?
Yes, any senator, including the Senate lead team, is eligible for becoming speaker. And I want to say, in terms of practice of last year when this happened, the speaker pro tempore did become the speaker, but acting, I think we did have the election, if I'm correct, yeah. And so then last year, when the previous speaker resigned, the speaker pro tempore put themselves for election. The president.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say that if the Senate were to feel that the speaker pro temp was the best option that they wanted to elect for speaker, then that option is still on the table. But like I mentioned earlier, it's not fully consistent with how the executive bylaws are as well, like I said, because both the president and vice president are elected positions.
The chief of staff.
I'm just wondering if we were to edit it to, keep it like that and then just adding, I don't know, this is just an idea, of unless another senator wants to put their name in. Because I know last year, no one else really had an interest, so it was just kind of okay, speaker pro tempore. But I don't know if next classes, someone has a willing to step up in the middle of the semester, but I don't know if that was just a question of would that cause more problems than solutions?
Yeah. You all could see that I was the one that suggested this edit, and so in full disclosure, I think it's kind of the best solution, but also all your suggestions are very, very well thought out. But mine's just point of looking at that, which is hoping that since the speaker pro tempore kind of has the best or the most training, I guess, for the role, and kind of already knows how the whole role works, and the way that it's kind of set up of why kind of have a speaker pro tempore in the first place if they're just going to be acting speaker anyways. It's kind of I feel at least constitutionally, but I'm always thinking constitutionally, in American government, but also here, it's I thought one, they have the most training, and two, what's even the point of the role of the speaker pro tempore if they don't become the speaker at the end of the day? It's just kind of acting speaker. I mean, they can be elected, obviously, but then why is there a speaker in waiting kind of role if they're not going to actually become the speaker at any given time?
If the speaker pro tempore does not have the necessary requirements to be elected as the speaker at the beginning of the year, should they not be able to then fill in for speaker?
Okay, so I think you do have to have the credits of the change. Did I see a hand? Senator William.
I just want to say that I think we should leave it as it is, but I do get what you're saying, the speaker pro tempore probably is the most trained and prepared for that role, and so I think most of the time anyway, the speaker pro tempore will probably be elected, but I think it's nice to give an option, or if, I don't know, if people are really against the speaker for whatever reason, then they also have their ability to voice that.
The Student Life Committee Chair.
I agree with what the previous senator has stated. I think that the speaker pro tempore would have a lot of time to demonstrate that they are
so there shouldn't be a worry of them not being elected if they're capable and the Senate feels like they're appropriate for the role. Because I feel like if not, it's just like a secure, like, oh yeah, no matter what happens throughout the year, they're gonna fulfill that position. But I think if it's giving an opportunity for senators who are representing constituents to voice their opinion, I don't see why not. I think that's always, not always, but typically gonna be beneficial.
Senator Coe.
So I just wanted to clarify, it sounds like, the consensus from people who have spoken today is that we want to override / disregard the speaker's suggestion and leave it as it originally was like it was in the bylaws. Is that correct? The original was not to elect or was to elect? That's, I know I'm getting confused between the two.
The original that the judicial branch is proposing is to allow Senate to elect.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Senator Coe.
potentially you would have to, we wouldn't be able to approve these today if we needed that to be changed because of the suggestion that was made by the speaker.
Yeah, so this technically isn't officially what the judicial branch is proposing. This is just the speaker of the Senate's suggestion. So basically imagine that and part is not there. The delete. Basically what the judicial branch is saying is that you would still have until a replacement can be elected by Senate is what we're still proposing.
Okay.
That's just to note the suggestion that was made.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. The next line item that I want to discuss is here. So this was another suggestion made, and it is to add dismissal of either Senate lead team position will remove the member from their Senate leadership office to their original selected Senate position they hold. No removal of their leadership role will remove the member from ASG without due process executed by the ASG judicial branch. In addition, the Speaker shall have the power to appoint and remove the members and the chairs of all committees of the Senate, which are the Academics Committee, Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility Committee, Student Org Committee, and Student Life Committee. So yeah, that is just a suggestion that was made, and it's open to discussion. I just like to make some points about why the judicial branch did not have that originally in there. One, it's just important to have checks and balances throughout the bylaws. So it's assumed that the speaker would only want to remove a person from their position for good reasons. So we didn't really see why it would be too hard to go through performance reviews. And also we saw that this additional power could potentially be abused by future speakers. And also, there needs to be a reason for everything in the bylaws. So, yes, the speaker has jurisdiction to nominate people for appointment. However, the appointment ultimately lies to all of you. Appointments are done by the speaker, but they're basically only nominations until they're confirmed by the rest of Senate. So ultimately, we believe that any removal should be following the same process. And last semester, the judicial branch, we did interpretation of the bylaws for a case surrounding these issues, and we found that the Speaker of the Senate removing people from Senate lead team positions is contradictory to the current dismissal process, which is stated within the Constitution and performance review bylaws. So that's why we didn't have it in there, but again, it's open to discussion if anyone feels any type of way about it.
Point of order, the allotted time has expired.
I highly encourage that we extend the time since these have been postponed for several weeks. The Student Life Committee Chair.
I move to extend the allotted time by 15 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor and been seconded to extend the allotted time by 15 minutes. We will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. 15 more minutes. And to the Chief Justice's point, the reason of suggesting that I put in there as I suggested was the clarification of the secondary roles of that you all or senators hold. So like there's like, you're both, like for those of them, you're committee chairs and coordinators, as well as Senate B team members. There's like, no other role in ASG really has like a secondary role. Like, you know, like if for example the finance chair were to like step down, there's no like it's not like she just becomes like member of the cabinet or something like that. And so what I thought was a clarification of what that means, because further down in the bylaws, there's a removal part of like, if you want to remove the speaker pro tempore and the speaker, there's like a procedure for that. And so, but if you were all to vote to remove me, for example, I don't have like a secondary position to fall upon, but does that mean that if you vote to remove the speaker pro tempore, the clerk, or the parliamentarian, does that mean that they become normal senators, or does that mean that they become like non-ASG people? And so that's like the weird kind of dichotomy of that I thought needed to be cleared up, because then with the speaker role, I don't become a senator because I kind of gave up that seat when I became speaker, and so I would be kind of like kicked out of office fully of ASG. But then if you vote to remove the speaker pro tempore or the parliamentarian, would they be like following that kind of same ruling of like they would be kicked out fully of ASG, or will they just be removed from their leadership positions? And so clarifying, and also with the president said the speaker interviews all positions for like the committee chairs and also the Senate B team and appoints them kind of like at their discretion kind of thing, then it also just felt like the speaker, like the power to appoint is the power to dismiss. But I also felt like the power to dismiss them from completely ASG should not exist in the hands of the speaker. It should be something the judicial branch handles, the performance review kind of thing. And so, but that's making the distinction between that leadership role and then their full-on, you know, entitled position on ASG. And in consequence also, in the Constitution, the precedents for this also set by the sense that the president at any time can remove anyone from the cabinet, but that still like makes like a weird discretion. Like if Melissa were to remove me from the cabinet, I lose my seat at exec, but then I would still be the speaker of the Senate kind of independently. But then if she were to remove like Kaylee or Amaya or Ashley, who don't have secondary positions, they're fully out of office kind of thing. So I feel like that's very confusing in the communication of that, and want to make sure that there are levels of steps of like further things where people are not fully booted out of ASG completely for just a voting or removal kind of thing, but instead they are referred to the judicial branch. And that's kind of like my suggestion. But and to the Chief Justice's point, they interpreted that, and so then I wanted to see what continually like kind of making clear that those secondary positions still exist, because I feel like this can continue to still be an issue further down the road for future senates and future things about distinguishing, like, are you a committee chair, and then if we were to remove you as committee chair, do you just like out of ASG, or are you removed from your leadership position and then you just fall back on being a senator kind of thing? And so that's something that wanted to bring to the attention of the Senate. The academics committee chair.
Okay, just for clarification, so as the academics committee chair, in order for me to become the chair, I have to be a senator. So my technical senator role is SAP senator. So if I were to be booted out of my position, then it would be just SAP senator. And that was my first question, but for clarification, so let's say that does happen, then who becomes academic committee chair, or is it just no one?
So with the current procedure and the practice that Senate operates in, that depends on what the procedure is done to remove you from, like, if it's a performance review, the judicial branch determines what kind of like sanctions are imposed upon someone, And so that could be removal from your position or completely from ASG. But then there's also like the voting aspect of you all. And for the question about who appoints the committee chair, the committee chair, then whoever, like if you were to be stepping down from that role, the speaker then appoints a new committee chair. As kind of like what we saw with previously Senator Aya's resignation, the Senate lead team and I met and we appointed a new committee chair who is Anna now, or Senator Anna, and now Idea Committee Chair Anna. So that's kind of like the procedure. Senator Chloe.
My question is related to what you just said. So like, in the case that a committee chair were to step down, can they step down from both positions? Like, in the case of former Senator Aya, she was able to step down from both of her roles, or would this, like she can only step down as chair and then we would have to not confirm her as a senator in order for that, for a dual step down?
Right, because she's originally a senator, which was elected, so there's no need of confirmation, like for her to be a senator, because like she's already elected. And she's choosing of her own accord to be like stepping down from her leadership role to be a senator kind of thing. Was that your question? Senator Clay?
I'm just saying, so in this case, it looks like we're talking about dismissals, but if the speaker or committee chair is choosing to step down from their role, can they, in one act, step down from their role as senator and as committee chair? Or would Senate have to not confirm them once we try to swear them in, if that makes sense?
Yes, I want to say yes.
What do you mean by not confirm them?
Senator Clay?
Would it have to be brought to the attention of Senate, or could that committee chair step down for both roles on their own, I guess is what I'm saying. Just like how we had to table the discussion this upcoming week, I understand that the senator would already be sworn in, but it's just something that that senator could do on their own accord without having to be any kind of voting on it.
Yeah, anyone can step down from any position whenever, yeah.
Senator Malia?
Okay, I kind of have two things. I kind of just want to clarify, as of right now, is it, if you step down, you would still be in the Senate, right? Is that what we're discussing?
Well, it depends, and that's why I was wanting to suggest a clarification, but
It's kind of twofold. One part of the suggestion is just adding the clarification about an additional position. We're calling it usually a secondary position. So like an academics chair committee member versus just them being a senator, or speaker pro tempore versus them just being a senator. That would be like their secondary position. So one part of it is making a suggestion just to clarify about the secondary position. The other part of the suggestion is adding the power for speaker to remove members and chairs of all committees and Senate lead team at their own discretion without Senate vote or judicial performance review.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions, discussion points?
Or if anyone feels strongly about adding it, because technically it's not in the suggestions that the judicial branch proposed, but if anyone feels strongly about adding it, we can go back and look at it.
Senator Ashika?
So I think what I wanted to bring up is, so the speaker does appoint a chair or speaker pro tempore. However, it does go through Senate to get approved. So it kind of doesn't make sense if the speaker alone has the power to like remove any position without Senate overall being able to approve on that. So just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
So, these bylaws either need to be tabled or voted on today, or, yeah, so either tabled or voted on today. So if there are any further discussions, questions for the Chief Justice, motions to approve the amendments to the bylaws, or motions to table, or no, I'm not, sorry, I was doing an internal question. Like if they wanted to refer it back to judicial bench for the further, if they table it, yeah, okay. So if you all table it, it could go back to judicial branch to kind of further hammer out, or if you all feel like it could be approved now.
Also, if you all table it, if you could like tell me any suggestions you have that like you want us to work on if you do want us to table it.
Next on staff is the clerk of the Senate.
So, if we vote today or table it today, what would these suggest? So, we didn't like, or there's a consensus that the Senate did not enjoy the first suggestion that was mentioned. So if we vote on it today, does that mean that that suggestion would be put into the bylaws?
No, that's not the judicial branch suggestion, so it's not going to be put in the bylaws. If you vote on it today, the bylaws would say that you still have the power to elect whoever. If speaker were to step down, you still have the power to elect.
Thank you.
Can the amendments be voted on individually, or do they all need to be approved or denied at once?
They can be voted on individually.
The parliamentarian.
I would just like to restate, just so that everyone is clear, the judicial branch recommendations are the ones that are actually being voted on. If you want to include what the speaker proposed, you will have to table this and we come back the next week because it has to be stated for a week that these are the judicial branch recommendations for the amendments. So currently you're only voting for what the judicial branch has already put on the recommended amendments. So if you choose to add or take out or anything like that, it will have to wait another week. But you can choose to vote to accept the amendments as they are, and that would just be ignoring the speaker's recommendations and just what judicial branch has already had there currently.
Senator Jacob.
I move for a 5-minute recess.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, I've been seconded to move to a 5-minute recess. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. 5-minute recess.
I
You would want to their opinion, like, not necessarily you have to be like, your thoughts. No, yeah. If we take, take the speakers, it's really bad. So, like in regards,
they're recommending that you have the amendment to say, we don't have the ages accepted. So you're voting to accept the judicial grants amendment to the Senate by, yeah, what, to accept the judicial
If you vote to approve, say to clarify, like make sure you guys get that. Or this is going to pass like a bunch. You want to do it, and then you can like, just make a comment. Usually, you know, it's a closed session. Yeah. A lot of the Bible. You don't want to talk. Ours is next
when everyone's standing around,
that just kind of gave
Oh, yeah.
know why? Yeah, usually I was running late today, but usually I go there and get one before Senate, so I was like, oh, April's gonna be a good month for Senate. Alright, good to see you too.
Oh, that's good. That's
Senate will come back to order.
Something else I just want to draw attention to really quick is another suggestion that Andres made. We already outlined the duties of the Speaker of the Senate, but something that he felt would be beneficial is if we add also, there's additional roles of the Speaker in the Constitution, and so then he thought just adding it also to here, just for more clarity. I don't know if you all think that's beneficial or not to have, but yeah, and like we already said, you can vote for like specific line items, or if you vote for just all of it, then you would not be accepting any of the suggestions that was made by the Speaker.
Point of order, the allotted time has expired.
Yeah, coordinator?
I moved to extend the allotted time by 5 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor, having been seconded to extend the allotted time by 5 minutes. We will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions, motion passes. Line item extended by 5 minutes. The Academics Committee Chair.
So basically for this line item, there's still be that in addition to their like listed roles, it will be like anything that they have to participate in outside of their listed roles. For example, as an academics committee chair, I sit on the get involved when I sit on the actual like beyond my roles. There's like other meetings that I have to be a part of. Is that what you're saying to include into? Basically your role, like other things that you have to do.
Pretty much what,
Right now, what the suggestion is just basically the Constitution and the Senate bylaws are like the two main things that Senate operates by. And so the roles and duties of the Speaker in the Constitution still applies to the Speaker even if it's not on these bylaws. However, the suggestion right now is to add what's already in the Constitution to these bylaws just to make it kind of easier also when you're like going through and reading the bylaws. And yeah, just to make it more straightforward, I guess, is the current suggestion being made by the Speaker.
Point of information, what line item is this?
It is this part. So
Sorry, what you're here?
In this, what was that? Mine or is it? I was thinking that it did.
oh, yeah, that's also the part of the Constitution.
Yeah. So basically, this part that's mentioned in the Constitution.
And to also answer the question too, there's been, the reason why I also suggested that is just because there's been previous issues where the Constitution is kind of like this, like the supreme deferral. So we always look to the Constitution for further things, but just for efficiency purposes, just literally copying and pasting what the Constitution says that the Speaker can do would probably help outline the role a little bit easier for, because the issue was that these bylaws were so outdated for several years. There was differences seen in the Constitution that have been seen in this. So we want to just keep it always consistent to whatever the Constitution says, since it is like the supreme law of like whatever ASG does. Next on SAC was the athletics coordinator.
I move to approve the bylaws as
think only the last line item as suggested by the Speaker of the Senate, regarding the information that's in the Constitution, including that in the bylaws.
Second.
Point of order, you can't. The judicial branch brings forth the amendments, you vote on the amendments, any additional information then has to be posted for a week and then brought back and voted on as an amendment. Since this has not been posted for a week, you will have to table it and we will have to come back next week to vote on it again. If you want to incorporate anything that the speaker has recommended.
The proxy for the sustainability coordinator.
I move to call the question to all the amendments made by the judicial.
Motion fails.
Point of order, there's no question to be called currently.
Point of clarification, so the only things that you can vote on right now are the amendments made
Point
by
of
the...
order, not recommended by the chair.
For points of clarification, they do. For points of information, no.
Point of clarification, the only motions and the only things you can vote on right now are the amendments presented by the judicial branch.
So again, reiterating, if you all vote to approve the amendments proposed by the judicial branch, it would leave out the suggestions made by the speaker, including the one about consistency with the Constitution. You all need to make a motion though first, before you do a call to question, that was also just answering that question. And so if you all want to include certain parts of the suggestions, it would be tabled for next week, so the judicial branch can type it out and revise it, and then present it again in next week's Senate. The Speaker votes on floor.
I move to table and discussion the vote on Senate bylaw amendments presented by the Chief Justice until next week.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, have been seconded to table the vote of the Senate bylaw amendments presented by the Chief Justice. Is there any discussion? Senator Chloe?
I'm sensing that everyone's confused and tired, and I don't think that's necessarily grounds for tabling something. That's just my input. I think we're all in agreement with the judicial amendments and that we should vote to approve those.
The Speaker.
Point of order, the allotted time has expired.
The Speaker goes on floor.
I move to extend the allotted time by 5 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor, have been seconded to extend the allotted time by 5 minutes. We will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions, motion passes. The Speaker goes on floor.
I was moving to table the discussion based on the memes that I find value in the third suggestion made by the Speaker. And based on the parliamentarian, we cannot approve the bylaws until all considerations have been made.
The Academics Committee Chair.
So this is just need for clarification, so if we choose to table, it would basically mean that next Senate, we would just, once it's been sitting in the room, we would just say we approve all the top three, we basically approve the judicial branch's suggestions or recommendations. However, we want to add under his suggestion at the end, so if we hold off until next week, that's all we have to do. Just give me. Yes.
There's still a motion on the floor currently to move to table for next week. The Student Life Committee Chair.
I move to call the question.
So again, with these move to call the questions, just making sure that you all are aware, if you move to call the question, that means we will vote to end discussion and then just move straight to the vote. So with that, we will move to a vote. All those in favor to call the question, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions, motion passes. So now we are on the motion to table this for next week, to table the amendment bylaws till next week. With that, we will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. Table to next week. Take a while. Our next item on the agenda is new business 2. And this will be discussion and brainstorming on upcoming Senate speakers, led by the Speaker Pro Tempore of the Senate, Luigi Giovanelli. Take a while. Take a while. The Speaker Pro Tempore.
I move to table the discussion and brainstorm upcoming Senate speakers led by the Speaker Pro Tempore of the Senate until next week.
There's a motion on the floor and been seconded to table the discussion and brainstorm on upcoming Senate speakers led by the Speaker Pro Tempore of the Senate, Luigi Giovanelli, to next week. Is there any further discussion? If not, we will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. Table to next week. With that, we move on to our next agenda item, which is final business and hearing of the public. At this time, any senator may take from the table any motion previously laid on the table in the meeting the week before, or present urgent business. Any member of the public may voice any concerns to the Assembly on non-agenda items. The President.
Hi everyone, thank you. I just wanted to make a quick announcement that, so as mentioned earlier, applications for ASG positions for next year close tonight. If you are considering running for president or vice president, I highly encourage you to come talk to me and chat with me about it. Make sure you check out the bylaws to check if you're eligible. But last year I submitted my application the last day, so you can too. So I would recommend that you please come chat with me today if you are interested in running for the position at all.
The Student or Committee Chair.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
There's a motion on the floor and been seconded to adjourn today's meeting. We will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Motion passes. Senate is adjourned.